Hey guys, this is a video response to a contest that Comic Book Mom and her husband Rorschach's Journal are having. I know her name is Audrey, and I cannot for the life of me remember what her husband's name is. But Audrey is for the X-Men and X-Men versus Avengers. Her husband is for the Avengers, and they're just kind of having a contest draw a sketch and say who your favorite Avenger is, draw a sketch or something, and say who your favorite X-Men is and why. So I figured I'd jump up there. And when I started out, I was going to kind of recreate this cover with my favorite X-Men and my favorite Avenger. Okay? So I kind of started. I'm going to have this count. Maybe you can see who it is. Oh, please show up. It's not going to show up as well. Like I said, I just kind of got started. And it's Thor and Cyclops. And what's amazing is for very different reasons. It kind of surprises me. This is why I really enjoy this community. You know, you'll start a little contest like this, and where I've been collecting comics since I was more or less 4. I've always been around them and stuff like that. It kind of gets a little personal with some of them. But anyway, as I was drawing this sketch, and thinking about, to show you I wasn't tracing or nothing. It's cardboard. It kind of dawned on me, this looks real familiar. I started digging and I found out, ta-da, X Factor number 32. I was sort of wasting my time. It's been done. But I think it's really cool to have those two. Now, obviously Thor is my favorite Avenger and Cyclops is my favorite X-Men, but let me reiterate, hear me out on the Cyclops, because the Cyclops that I'm a fan of as an X-Man is not the guy that's been around for the last couple of decades. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, the Wasp is the person who came up with the name Avengers. She christened the team Avengers. And what's interesting about that is the Avengers have been around for so long, in my opinion, that the name has become desensitized. Avengers is actually a badass name. I mean, think about it. We avenge, not revenge, not they're not a fantastic little quartet. They're not a league of friends. They're not a society. They are Avengers. And Avengers is really a oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on the word I need. The Avengers, that's really a hostile kind of name. It makes me think of like brutality and not revenge or anything like that, but they're gonna come down on you harsh. And that's the thing about Thor. Now, Thor, just to get some context here, is a god of thunder. He's used to being worshipped. I mean, and he's a Viking. He's a Norse god. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Vikings and stuff, but they're you did not want to mess with them. They were brutal. They were Navy men. They oh my gosh. So, Thor's got all this mythology behind him. He's old, and he comes down to Earth as being punished by Odin. He's supposed to learn humility and everything like that. And then he joins this team. And that's where I think the Viking mentality comes in. He has, in his eyes, it's brothers and sisters of warriors. He'll show up and he'll be like, "Hey, what's going on? What we got to do?" And this man this god is so humbled and respects the people around him that he'll follow them. A god following mortals, no matter how you cut it. And that's kind of unique. That says a lot about him and what he's learned here on Midgard. So, but he becomes the epitome of what an Avenger is. He takes that Avenger's title and he reminds you what it means, because Thor will show up for business. What's the plan? Who we going after? Just kind of point me. He goes out there until you piss him off. And what pisses off Thor? When you mess with some other Avengers, when you disrespect the Avengers, if you go after an Avenger and it goes against like this warrior's code he has. When you play downright dirty, he's coming after you. Okay, just to give you a taste, it doesn't matter who you are. Okay, Avengers number 92 here. All right, we're talking about the Avengers. We're just gonna go by the cover here. All right, he's telling 3 of them to go. All right, ye have disgraced the name of the Avengers. Go then and be Avengers no more, for all things must end. Hit the road. You disgraced the Avengers name. Goodbye Vision. Goodbye Quicksilver. Goodbye whatever he was there, Giant Man, Goliath. It's, you know, I'm thinking that's the, I don't know, I'm wanting to say that's the, when Hawkeye became Giant Man for a while. Okay, then we get over here. And it doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy, man. You do something to the Avengers, he's ready to throw down. There'll be there be avenged blood on the hands of the Fantastic Four, and it's gonna get them. You know, it doesn't, hero, villain, it doesn't matter. You don't cross a line with Thor when it comes to the Avengers, and that's always kind of been carried out. When Masters of Evil attacked the Avengers Mansion in the '80s, who's leading the attack? You know, Masters of Evil beware. They're not called the Avengers for nothing. When Ultron, when Kurt Busiek and you know, George Perez, who, you know, Ultron had messed with some of the Avengers, did something horrible to this whole country of people, and who's right there at the forefront talking some shit? It's Thor. Ultron, we shall have words. All right, that's Thor. Okay, Thor as an Avenger. Now we're going to get into Cyclops here. Now, sometimes I've collected comics for so long. Memories that we keep in our heads that are able to be real clear. We can remember it like yesterday. It's all because of emotional things. Emotion triggers memories. What I'm getting at. And comic books, I've made a video too where I got kind of personal, and it wasn't so much the comic books that were personal. It's that things were going around me that were personal that I kind of attached to these comics being around at the time. This is the second comic that I had bought today that I was at the funeral of my grandfather, and it was really one of the first X-Men books that I bought, and I had sat down and read since, you know, probably like 3 or 4 years. You know, I was a kid. The X-Men didn't really grab me. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I was more of a Legion of Superheroes and Justice League kind of guy. Okay, so then all of a sudden I get this, and I'm like, Cyclops kicks some butt in this, man. He let me start all over here. Okay, when I was about 7 years old, I think that's when the Dark Phoenix saga was going on. Everybody's talking about the X-Men, and for a change, it wasn't just Wolverine they were talking about. You know, they were talking about, you know, pretty much the whole team. Jean Grey, she came back in a Marvel girl outfit. They were on the moon, and strangely enough, they were fighting the Imperial Guard, which is more or less Marvel's version of Legion of Superheroes. And so, you know, that kind of got me interested. And you had Cyclops, and you had this big guy here who, not big guy, but you had Scott Summer in love with his high school sweetheart, and he's got to make this choice about killing her and stuff. I mean, that's just a solid story no matter what book that would have been in. So when you're a kid and you're that young, something kind of happens. You know, maybe you know, my experience here, so maybe I shouldn't say everybody, but you kind of end up, you don't have the words when you're little until you get older. I'm getting there. So when you don't have the words, but I met this guy across the hill. You know, you went through this little patch of woods. There's a trail, and that's where all these. I was in a trailer park, and that's where all the nice houses were, and the brick houses and stuff. And there's this guy there. He's like about 16 or 17, and he was so nice to me, but he was so cool. I mean, he just started talking to me. We were sitting there talking, and he's had his little stack of comic books, and I was able to talk comics with him. You know, he's like 11 years older than me, and I'm keeping up with him, and I'm kind of correcting him stuff when it comes to like Teen Titans and you know, the kids. You know, and I'm still just 7. I mean, he may have been just a really nice guy who's kind of, you know, just being nice. And we ended up started talking. I'd go over there and see him about, you know, once or twice a week, and we'd sit in his driveway and stuff, and just a great guy. And I kind of wanted to be this guy when I grew up. You know, I kind of had like maybe a little bit of, he's cool. I want this kind of hero worship. Found out that he was on the swim team or something like that, and he actually ended up dying. Probably about 6 months after I started talking to him. Something was wrong with his heart, and he had a heart attack. Now, while we were first talking, the first time I ever talked to him, he pulled out this drawing that he had done of Cyclops. You know, it was bigger than this, and it was on like this blue paper that's, just a step away from construction paper, and I'd show it to you, but I kept it for so long it literally dissolved. I mean, it just, there's just nothing to keep anymore. And I was a kid, I didn't know to put it in a picture frame or how to take care of it or anything. And it was Cyclops standing in this rubble, with his visor glowing and stuff like that, and it was like Neil Adams quality, and he had drawn it. I mean, and it was an original drawing. I mean, it still had his personality in it, but he gave it to me. And that's when we started talking about X-Men and Cyclops and all this stuff. And so right there, that's kind of why Cyclops got into me. It wasn't, my friend was a Cyclops fan, and the first time I met him, he gives me this picture he drew, and it's an older kid talking, that's just cool and stuff. So then all of a sudden, this issue comes up. My grandfather had died, and I got 2 comics when I went over there, and it was this Cyclops story. And Cyclops their plane's having some problems. He's supposed to be with Madeline Pryor on his honeymoon. They're on their way there. They end up landing in the ocean on the plane, and this gigantic octopus comes up. And this is just Cyclops getting his act together and saving his woman and saving them and getting out of there. I'm reading this, man, and I'm just like, oh my God, what is this? I mean, this literally just blew me away. It's just a great book. And then as I got older and stuff, life happens and stuff. And again, it's not that I relate to Cyclops. It's just some of the things that they put in his story kind of happened to me. It's almost like, I hate to say it, but if I was going to end up being a comic character, I could see me end up becoming Cyclops. Cyclops had a brother, Havoc. He tried to take care of his brother and stuff, and they got separated and lost. Well, when I was 10, my 6-year-old little brother ended up moving in with his grandparents, and I'd just see him on weekends and during the summers and stuff, so, I kind of, remembered, that part of the origin story of Cyclops. And then the women, oh my God, seems like Cyclops is always chasing love, just wanting to be loved and stuff like that. And he had Jean Grey, and then he lost her, and then he got Emma, and he lost her, and then Madeline popped up, and he's whiny, and he's a bit of a hound for the redheads or so, the Telepus and stuff. So I mean, it's give and take and stuff, but like, losing that lost love and stuff like that. I mean, what guy has not been through that? And the older you get, and if you get in other relationships and stuff, I mean, realistically, as much as it sounds, and as much as he's turned into like this little whiny thing, you can relate as a guy, strange kind of way. When you read it, it's one of those ideas that you just don't roll your head on. Every now and then you're kind of like, Scott, not again. What's wrong with you, man? Now what he's become in the last couple of years and stuff is part of the reasons that I'm just not a fan of Marvel like I used to be. There's no hating going on or anything like that, but I'm just not going to waste my money. And do they hopefully, they got a reason with what's going on. Is Scott a Skrull right now? Maybe. We watch YouTube, we hear all the you hear all the reviews and you hear all the opinions and stuff. Is Scott losing it? Yeah, he's lost it and stuff. So hopefully, they'll be able to bring him back around. But Scott was never really like the Captain America type of character. He was never the Thor kind of character. He was Slim Summers, and he's always had that little bit of whininess into him. He's always had that poor, pitiful me into him. But when it came to stepping up and being the hero, he used to do it, and he always did it with honor. When he lost a battle with Storm, and who's going to be the leader of the X-Men, he did the noble thing, So, I mean, there's always like these good qualities in him. It's just a little messed up there. So, anyway, I can go on and on, but that's my contest entry, and carry on.